It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know I did, and certainly we have a lot to get to and a lot to go over. On a funny note, I was at a concert on Friday night, and all of a sudden, sitting next to me, I look over to my right, like 2 feet away, and I'm like, wait a second, is that Charo? And I guess Charo and her manager were in Vegas doing a show, and I said, wait a second, aren't you Charo? And she's like, yep. And we were sitting next to each other watching interesting, to say the least. You want to talk about a Hall of Famer. So it was pretty cool talking to Charo and watching a pretty good show, watched some basketball over the weekend. And, last night I'm putting the show together, and we have a lot to get to. But I just want to share this with you. I was watching Barack Obama's speech, eulogy at John McCain's funeral. And this was years ago. And I was just thinking to myself, that's back when politics, when people respected one another. Two respectable men, John McCain, who served this country honorably, who wanted Barack Obama to speak at his funeral. And I just went back and saw the footage, George W. Bush speaking and Barack Obama speaking. And I said to myself, this was really the last time where politics wasn't so divided. Yes, you could disagree on issues, but still respect one another and respect people that are holding office, and disagree, but do it with class and dignity. And I miss that, to be honest with you. I really do. I miss that. We haven't had that in a while. And I miss Barack Obama making those kinds of speeches. I miss John McCain. Heck, even George W. Bush was a man of some dignity and class, even though I didn't agree with him on a lot of issues. And we've just lost that. And, yesterday marked the 6-month anniversary of the October 7th attacks in Israel. And we're certainly going to get to that, and we're going to talk about that. Very serious to talk about. Again, the issues of transgenders are back in the news again. A big judgment today in regards to transgender women competing against other women. We're going to talk about that, and where I think some Democrats are wrong on this issue, including Bakari Sellers. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on the show. And, when sports meets politics, whatever, I have so much respect for Dawn Staley. Congratulations on them winning the national championship, even though I think she is wrong on this transgender issue. Congratulations to her team for winning the national championship yesterday. And, of course, we have the men's national championship game tonight. So a lot to get to, a lot to go over today. California raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour. We will eventually get to that as well. And to talk about all these issues and more, it's Monday, and that means Chris Wynn is joining us in studio to talk some politics with us. Chris, what's going on, man?
It's going good, man. Good to join you, Brian. Of course, it's one more day closer to what's going to be one of the most consequential elections in modern political history, obviously, in November. And so a lot of these issues are coming to the forefront. We're starting to get into the nitty-gritty of what is the election season. And so, all of these topics that we are going to explore, and a lot of you watchers and listeners out there with PTL across all the platforms, it's always great to get your feedback as well on social media and checking out the feed. But there's so much to discuss, and for you and I, two guys who made our bones really when it comes to the to sports across the board. When sports and politics intersect, it's also an opportunity for us to kind of chime in on that. So it's going to be a lot to talk about here on a Monday.
Yeah, and we have some big guests lined up this week, by the way, too. This week alone, we have Anthony Scaramucci that's going to be joining the show. Dr. Peter McCullough, if you don't know who he is, very controversial heart doctor who is very anti-vaccine. In fact, he's testified in front of Congress, makes appearances on far-right publications like Newsmax, OAN, and Fox News, and very controversial. I'm going to get into it with him, but Dr. McCullough has agreed to come on the show Wednesday. Doc Walls, who ran for mayor of Chicago against Rahm Emanuel, is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. Eva Chase on Thursday. A lot of special guests lined up this week for you. I want to start off with something a little lighthearted. Yes, we talk about a lot of serious topics on this show, and we're going to be getting into the 6-month anniversary of the attack on Israel. So I want to get into that. But before we do, I figured we'd have a little bit of fun to start the show on Monday. The Young Turks do a great job of interviewing Trump supporters, particularly, and exposing how stupid they are. And I figured we would play a little bit of audio, Chris, of a recent rally, a recent Donald Trump rally, where you can listen in real time how stupid some of these Donald Trump supporters are. I mean, listen, you can go to any of these rallies, and there's going to be a lot of dopes there. But, I mean, this is just at another level. So the Young Turks, a great reporter out there interviewing some of these Trump supporters. And the theme is they hate gay people, they hate transgenders, they want this country to look white. But let's hear from them. By the way, most of these people struggle to even put a coherent sentence together. Listen to this guy as he talks about how much he hates gay people. Listen to this.
You know, and look at the people that want to oppress this LBGQ or whatever the heck it is, all these transgenders and gays, and you know, I don't believe in all that crap. That's just, you know.
If somebody was, you know, an American who was born gay thinks that the presidency matters and their issues matter, what would you say to that person?
They need to read the Bible. They need to read the Bible.
I can hear the
Ain't
audio.
but one thing you can believe and trust in this world today, and that's God's word.
They need to read the Bible. They need to read the Bible. By the way, nothing in the Bible says anything about being gay. And by the way, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I find it very interesting that particularly these MAGA morons, when they soak in their bigotry of hating on gay people and transgenders, they always refer to the Bible. The book, by the way, that Donald Trump has never read that he's selling for $60. I just find it really interesting, the hatred and the bigotry of these ignorant people. I mean, this guy, read the Bible, read the Bible. I mean, the guy can't even speak. And his hatred toward, and let me play you one more on this same issue. Here is another trans bigot. This is a female talking about how much she can't stand the trans people. Listen to this.
To think that a child of 5 or 6 can determine that they want to be a boy because they're a girl, or they're a girl and they want to be a boy, and that the state or wherever they're living has the right to put them through transformation or transition, and the parents don't have a say. Now, that's not legal in all places.
I was going to say that's not happening. That isn't happening. I mean, like no, there are people talking about it, but there's no sort of political movement to make it happen for 5 and 6-year-olds.
Oh, yeah? What was the recent Pride events? What were they?
Pride events was gay pride. That it's been.
Oh, and the transgender didn't enter into the picture at all? Have you seen their new flag?
Sure, yeah. But transgender has nothing to do with 5 and 6-year-olds. I mean, but if you're born gay in America, you should be able to have pride.
Do whatever you want, but don't destroy the children. I'm just saying that's one part of the agenda, which is really bad.
Don't destroy the children. Now, these types of idiots, because I've interviewed some of them, and obviously this is a woman who's extremely stupid. Shocker that she's voting for Donald Trump. She tries to equate transgenders to the gay pride parade. By the way, one has nothing to do with the other. And then she starts talking about how all these kids are being affected. And if you listen to these mega dopes, a lot of them will talk about how our kids are being indoctrinated. And what I asked them was, can you give me an example of a transgender or drag queen reading that has directly negatively affected a child? And they can't give me one specific example. In fact, Chris, I think you're very close to some people that feel the same way as this woman feels. They're such bigots and they're so stupid, and they don't understand anything in regards to what they're talking about. They listen to Matt Walsh and these morons and these Candace Owens types people who spread this bigotry and this hatred about transgenders. We're going to talk about transgenders in sports later, but this is a separate entity here. This woman is so dumb. She has no idea what she's talking about. Where do they get this information from?
Well, I got to tell you, Brian, we find comedy in the fact that we're even playing these clips, right? Giving these people a voice that are just, it's basically idiocy and ignorance porn for us. That's what it is. Listening to these morons talk. I mean, there's no, direct connection necessarily between homosexuality and transgender people. Okay, that's not a thing. All right, you don't have to be gay to be transgender at the same. And I mean, all we do is we listen to these clips and watch these clips, right? And it's just hilarious because the gentleman whose name escapes me, the guy that does the interviewing
He's
for the
very
Young Turks,
good, yeah.
he's hilarious because he's just a straightforward. He's like the straight guy, right? And then he's talking to these complete clowns about these topics that they have no authority whatsoever to even speak on.
And here's
So
somebody.
it's just flat out comedy at this point.
Oh, it
really
is. And here's somebody who's decked out in all the MAGA gear, a hat, a shirt, got the American flag, and this is another bigot that he is interviewing. Have a listen to this.
I'm not a big fan of LGBTQ. You know, I mean, I think they're garnering a lot of attention that is unwarranted. I mean, they're 1% of the population. So why are we reaching out and doing all this for 1% of the population?
I guess because it's 1% of the population.
Yeah.
I mean, so like if my brother was born gay, I would want him to have all the rights.
I mean, I've got no problem if you're gay and you want to wear a dress or whatever. That's your business, but it doesn't need to be everybody else's business.
How is it being everybody else's business? You're the one that's obsessed with it. These people, like a man who puts on a dress, are they forcing you to do it? People that are gay, are they forcing you to be gay? These people think a gay pride parade is about indoctrinating people and forcing people to be gay. Hey, guess what? If you don't want to be gay, then you don't have to be gay. If you don't want to be in a gay marriage, then don't be in a gay marriage. If you don't want to date a transgender person, then don't date a transgender person. But somehow, I don't know where this guy gets the idea that it's being pushed on them. When somebody says, whether it be a teacher or a relative or anybody, and they say, hey, it's okay to be who you are. If you want to be gay, you can be gay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be transgender, you can be transgender. And somehow bigots like this idiot who's wearing all the MAGA gear turns that into you're indoctrinating kids and you're forcing me to do something I don't want to do. It's the same idiots, Chris, on Transgender Day of Visibility that said that, oh, you're taking away from my Easter. Oh, really? How? What were your plans 2 weeks ago for Easter? And how is Transgender Day of Visibility negatively affecting you? Now, obviously, it's not. Whether you had a family get-together, whatever you did, Transgender Day of Visibility didn't affect you negatively at all. But they want to make it like, oh, my God, how could you have Transgender Day of Visibility on a day like Easter? You know, by the way, these are the same people that vote for a liable rapist. But, these people are so stupid. It just comes down to basic ignorance. You know, these people in middle America that are uneducated with their 3 teeth, that live in their mobile homes, that are decked out in all this MAGA gear, are some of the dumbest and dangerous people that this country has to offer.
Well, let's toss out a couple things to make factually accurate as well, too, Brian. Here's the thing, right? There's not just 1% in the world of the LGBTQ community, okay? There's a little bit more than that, okay? Yes, there's less than 1% of the world community is transgender, right? But not the LGBT community. It's a much bigger part. So the interviewer actually should have pointed that out to him. The interviewer just kind of let it go. And also, look, this isn't. He stole your phrase, Brian Shapiro. Okay, he went with the I'm not a big fan of the LGBTQ community. Okay, so it's not about you being a big fan. That has nothing to do with it. Okay, it's about us people who are empathetic and sympathetic to those who just want to exist that happen to be in that community, right? Mm-hmm. Those people that happen to be gay or lesbian or transgender. It's those of us out there that want to say, hey, you know what? You have the right to exist, okay? You have the right to live. You have the right to be the person that you think you are. It's not you saying, you being the bigot and judgmental idiot that guy was, saying, oh, I'm not a fan of these people, as if they are less than, as if they are, those people over there. That's not the approach that a decent, mature, adult human being should take with respect to this community.
So here's another Trump supporter decked out in his MAGA gear, trying to make sense, which he doesn't, and trying to make the case of how bad the economy is, but when faced with facts, again, looks like a complete imbecile.
What do you like about Donald Trump?
I like a guy that wants us to be free and, our economy and everything that he did for us.
So the improvements that the Biden administration has made in the economy, have those affected you yet?
Yeah, they've hurt my bank account.
But I'm talking about sort of the inflation going down, some cost of living prices going down. Does that register with you?
I'm not sure it is going down. I mean, everything you see, they say it's going down, but I don't believe it.
Well, I'm just talking about the indexes that we have always followed as a country, that Republicans and Democrats and everyone in between follows. Those are trending in a direction that's favorable, jobs and all of that. So I'm wondering if you've felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of agree, right? I kind of see where you're going.
I mean, really,
it's just
could these people be any more ignorant? I mean, it's really mesmerizing. These people are mentally ill. They're very ignorant. And as I say, and I say again, they're very dangerous to the country. Now, here's a woman, who's, again, decked out in this MAGA gear. She's got the MAGA shirt. She's got the MAGA hat. She looks like a complete MAGA clown. And she's a huge Donald Trump supporter, but yet she can't answer this one very basic question.
What do you love about Donald Trump?
I love everything about Donald Trump. I feel he can be trusted and feel comfortable, and it's peace of mind.
And tell me a little bit about what you liked when he was president. What are some of the things he did that you agreed with?
I agreed with everything he did.
One specific?
I can't think on the spot, but everything I'm happy with.
Everything I'm happy with. Hey, excuse me, can you name one policy that you like? I'm pretty much happy with everything. I like everything. I like the orange makeup. Yeah, I like everything. I like the orange makeup. I love the fact that he's a liable rapist.
I can't think on the spot.
I can't
everything
think.
I'm happy with.
No, you just can't think, lady. It's not that you can't think on the spot. You just can't think because you're stupid. I love everything. I love the fact he's a sexual abuser. I love the fact that he's selling those Bibles upside down for $60. I love the fact he's facing 91 felony counts. He's right. He won the election in 2020. Can you name me one policy? I like everything.
It's hilarious, too, Brian, because you use the word dangerous, right, to describe these people. I mean, yeah, they're dangerous in the context that they all have votes, right? And therefore, we are in the position we are in America right now, where you have a decision between an 81-year-old incumbent and Joe Biden, right? That even us Democrats can find faults in Joe Biden without question, right? There's a lot of us Democrats that say, you know what? Joe Biden isn't ideally the candidate we would like to run in 2024, but then you look at the other side. You look at the other side of the coin in a binary choice between two people, and these people, how they describe their support and the reason for their supports. And when they say things that are just factually wrong and they are not based in reality, and you could point it out directly to them in an interview like that, like in real time, you could point out to them what you just said is ridiculous and wrong and not true and is not based in reality, and yet they just ignore you and just go on and then start saying something else that is completely wrong and not attached to reality. Yeah. It just, yes, the word dangerous does come into play when you think about what's about to transpire in 7 months, right? 6 or 7 months, where you've got millions of Americans out there that will vote for Donald Trump. And for reasons that don't make any sense whatsoever.
These are the base of the Donald Trump party, right? The MAGA Republicans. Not everybody sounds like this, but the base of Donald Trump supporters are extremely stupid people. And here's another one, ladies and gentlemen. Have a listen to this.
I think a lot of people voted for the first time just because they never knew there was fake news and rigged elections and indoctrinating our children, and everything is the opposite of reality is what everybody tells you and everybody believes. He's the most unifying president ever in history, and all the numbers show it. And probably get record black and Hispanic votes again this election, but they make him out to be the divider. And the most racist president, divisive president, is made out to be the unifier. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, there you go. The most unifying president, by the way, he said. Just a babbling idiot. I don't know what this guy's even trying to say.
Brian, literally, Numchuck, PTL Nation out there, literally everything that moron just said is completely wrong. Every single point that he made was inaccurate, false, either misleading, complete nonsense, BS, whatever you want to call it, folks. Every single thing that guy said, not true.
I also don't understand when these Trump supporters say that he's getting the minority vote when twice he got less than 15% of the black vote. Right. Like, I don't understand these Republicans when they say, oh, all these black people are going to come out and vote for Donald Trump. No, they're not. Like, what are they talking about? He's saying that he's unifying. What? Why? Because he has nicknames to insult every single person that disagrees with him, or that he calls all Democrats vermin? Like, what do you mean the most unifying president? Anyway, listen to this. We only got a couple more here because there's only so much of this I can take. Another supporter that is trying to make the case for Donald Trump that he is the most honest of all presidents. Listen, I'm not making this up, by the way. Listen to this.
Well, like about Donald Trump.
You know, I like his honesty and transparency.
And, I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
He puts America first.
Yeah. He was a little more honest than the rest of them. He said things that were true, and the others they don't. He seems like more of a man of the people.
Definitely a man of the people. Yeah, the only honest thing I think I've ever heard him say is when he said I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. The crazy thing about this is these people actually believe what they are saying. They're so dumb and brainwashed that they actually believe some of this stuff. Now, the last one I will play for you is a man that can barely even talk. This is how, and I'm not talking about a speech impediment, right? I'm not talking about a stuttering problem or a handicap, what have you. I'm talking about a guy that is so dumb he can't even put a sentence together coherently. Another Trump supporter decked out in all the Trump gear waiting to listen to Donald Trump speak.
Most dangerous thing happening in the country right now?
That the kids are switching their genital or their sexual things in like
right now.
That the kids are switching their genital or their sexual things in like grade school and stuff like that.
Do you think that's a lot of people that are doing it?
One's too many. So, yeah, I got to say, yeah.
But one...
You know, not even if the child, has a say in it. Just whatever the parent says or whatever the school does.
Yes, sir. So that's exactly how it works. So a 5 or 6 year old has no say, and the parents say, we're going to make you be a transgender. That's exactly how it works, by the way. How dumb can you possibly be?
What the hell is a gentar?
A gentar,
hey,
yeah.
Numbchuck, Chap. I guess we're making up words now, too. We're just creating new words to describe certain things. I guess that's another thing that's going out there, too.
The kids are switching their genital or their sexual...
It's a gentor. Get out your Webster dictionaries, gentlemen. Look up the word gentor, okay? See if it's anywhere near what he was trying to talk about.
Serious question for you.
Serious question after that. Shap's going with
what type of individual do you have to be to actually really think that parents are forcing their young children to get their pee-pee cut off or vice versa, having transgender surgery when the 5 and 6 year old is crying in to see the physician? No, mommy, daddy, please. I don't want to be a transgender. And the parents force them into having that surgery. What type of human being with a brain, or lack thereof, do you have to be to think that this is actually going on?
It's classic fear-mongering, right, Brian? That's exactly what it is. It is, some people that have a voice because of the social media climate and the media climate period that we have in this country and around the world now, quite frankly. People are able to spew off this nonsense, and now it's baked in. It's baked into some of these people. They just automatically assume this stuff is true and that it's happening, and even more importantly, that it's happening on some serious level, that it needs to be addressed in the political realm, right? That we need to have politicians weighing in with their opinions and thoughts on this. Let me tell you something, all right? And this is the same thing, by the way, with the whole critical race theory BS that started back in 2020. 99.9% of the population didn't know what critical race theory was before 2020, essentially. Nobody was talking about it. The reason I know this, folks, and the reason I know this, guys, is because I went to school in this country, too. I have 50-plus years of life experience in this country, too. And I had never heard of critical race theory until 2020. The point being is that people like to inject these issues that can be divisive into the political realm either whether it's in an election cycle or when we have a polarizing time in America when it comes to politics, which this is, okay, because everything in the MAGA era and, in the recent era, basically, is about politics and about getting people fired up against each other. And this is just one more opportunity for people to
Listen,
do
it sounds really nice when people say, listen, we got to get back to respecting one another's opinions. We have to respect each other. We have to talk to one another and listen. That sounds really nice. If somebody has an extremely low IQ and they're very dumb, and yes, I do believe that if you think Donald Trump won the 2020 election, if you think that children are getting forced into transgender surgery or drag queen reading is just, hell on earth, I don't really want to have a conversation with you because you're ignorant and you're just not somebody that I have anything in common with. And I'm sorry if some of you think that's a little bit insulting. I really don't care. Those are the types of people that are going to support Donald Trump no matter what. They're complete idiots. They have no brain. That's not a reasonable policy discussion to have with somebody that thinks that young children are being forced into transgender surgery. It's not a reasonable conversation to have with somebody. By the way, almost 7 out of 10 Republicans feel that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. You can't have a reasonable conversation with somebody who thinks that way. Listen, if you think that elections need to be more secure and voter ID and all this other stuff, okay, I'll have that conversation with you. But if you think Donald Trump won, it's not worth the conversation. It's not because I think I'm Albert Einstein and I'm smarter than everybody else. It's because I'm somewhat logical of a human being and you're not. And these people that go to these rallies are cultists. They are. It's a cult. If you go to, and I haven't, but if you see video of these Trump rallies, these are all members of the cult. You might as well go to a Klan rally for all I'm concerned. These are very stupid, ignorant people that are bigoted in nature. They're persuaded by anything that Donald Trump tells them. And, they think that Donald Trump is a good Christian and he cares about America. This is a despicable human being. And now we're learning even more information. Eyewitnesses that are saying, a note was passed to Donald. This goes to show you exactly the type of person that Donald Trump is. If you don't already know by now, then you're lost anyway. But he was given a note on January 6th from one of his Secret Service members that Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed. And people who saw him accept the note and read it said that he showed no reaction at all. He just kept going. He didn't say anything. He didn't ask any questions. And he kept watching the events unfold on television. And then, people will say, well, Donald Trump, he cares about Ashley Babbitt. Or Donald Trump, he goes to a wake of an officer that was killed in the line of duty. So all of a sudden that means he cares about police officers. These people have been duped. They've all been duped by Donald Trump. And if you're one of those people that have been duped, you're not a very smart human being. That's what it comes down to. We will take some phone calls on the other side of the break, 702-221-7283. Again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. So yesterday marked the 6-month anniversary of the Hamas attacks in Israel, where so many innocent lives were lost, and sadly, more innocent lives are being lost in Gaza, innocent Palestinians. Where is the end to this war in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas? We're going to talk about that when we come back. Joe Biden is in a really tough spot. And, you have certain protests in this country where you have extremists shouting death to America. And we have the audio to play that for you as well, because that happened over the weekend. Meanwhile, the 6-month anniversary. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. It's Pushing the Limits. We'll take some phone calls on the other side, 702-221-7283. And we'll be back right after this on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council, with a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen. I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that support this show and enjoy watching yours truly, I ask that you also support our sponsors, Pioneer Air, a company that's been around since the 1930s. Leo and his group have done such a wonderful job with this company and taking care of you. And if you give them a call today, you'll get some free scheduled maintenance for up to a year just for listening to this show. And, you know, summer right around the corner. It's going to start to get hot out there. You don't want your air conditioning system to take a crap on you at the worst possible time when it's like 120 degrees outside. So here's the number. Ask for Leo. Say you heard about them from this show, and you're going to get some free scheduled maintenance for up to a year. No catch. Number to call, 702-703-6346. And again, that number, 702-703-6346. Call them, Pioneer Air, today. So yesterday, Chris, marked the 6-month anniversary of really what we would call Israel's 9/11. I think that's pretty fair. Hamas butchering, killing children, babies, killing parents in front of the children, rape. I mean, it's horrible. And then on the other side of it, sure, Israel has a right to defend themselves. But there are a lot of people out there that are giving harsh criticism to Benjamin Netanyahu because some feel like he's not doing enough to protect innocent civilians. Also very difficult to conquer and defeat Hamas when they are infiltrated among innocent civilians in Gaza. So very difficult circumstance and situation for us to be in, or Joe Biden to be in. They have a right to defend themselves, but they also have to have a responsibility to do the least amount of innocent casualties. So it's tough. So now, you know, we hear the calls for a ceasefire over and over again. What a lot of people fail to realize is that there was a ceasefire when Hamas committed these atrocities. What makes you think they won't do it again if there's a ceasefire? So really difficult stuff. And on both sides of the aisle, there's criticism, right? There are people that are claiming all those that are holding these pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel rallies are leftists. And I say to myself, how do you know that? You think these people that are pro-Palestine, you don't know if they voted for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. They might not be a part of any political affiliation, but they automatically assume if they're anti-Israel, they must be Democrats. That's absurd. People that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, how do we know they were all MAGA Trump supporters? Well, because they all had their day in court, and many of them were part of right-wing fringe groups. We know that for sure. It's like they think they go out into these crowds and they poll every single person, and they know that they're all lefties. But, Chris, I do want to play you some audio, and it's some troubling audio. I'm not going to lie to you. This was, over the weekend, a pro-Palestinian rally that took place in Texas. And the guy who's speaking is obviously Palestinian. He's anti-Israel. And the people in the crowd in Michigan, I'm sorry, not Texas, the people in the crowd in Michigan were chanting and shouting, "Death to America." Have a listen to this.
Head of America. Malcolm X said, and I quote, "We live in one of the rottenest countries that has ever existed on this earth. It's not Genocide Joe that has to go. It's the entire system that has to go. Any system that would allow such atrocities and such devilry to happen and would support it, such a system does not deserve to exist on God's earth."
Okay, so let me be clear. First of all, if you're chanting "Death to America," and I know we have something called freedom of speech in this country, but you can't, burn an American flag. There's certain things you can't do in this country. To me, that's just as bad. If you're chanting "Death to America," I consider that a direct threat, and those people should go to jail or get the hell out of our country. That's the way I feel. That's number one. If you want to be taken seriously, then don't be idiotic and don't chant out "Death to America." You're not going to be taken seriously if you make a statement like that. Number two, these people that call Joe Biden Genocide Joe is also so beyond ignorant and ridiculous. The idea that Joe Biden is committing genocide or wants a certain group of people to be murdered, it's not only not true, but it's also not true when it comes to Israel. And the reason why I say that, and some of these people are so dumb, they don't understand that there are literally millions of Palestinian people, millions of those of the Islamic faith that live freely in Israel. If Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to commit genocide, do you think he would allow all these people of the Islam faith to live in Israel? Of course he wouldn't. So that makes absolutely no sense at all. Israel is not intentionally trying to commit genocide or wanting to kill a bunch of innocent people. And Joe Biden is not somebody that wants an entire group of people to die either. This "Death to America" stuff, I think it should be a crime. I think if you call on the death of anybody, it should be a crime. That's a direct threat. And another part of this too is that there's a lot of people that are upset, including the MAGA crowd, that are upset about the "Death to America" chants, and some of them happen to be MAGA supporters. But the thing about that gets me a little upset is not the fact that they're upset of "Death to America." It upsets me as well. It's the fact that, Donald Trump is the guy that continually craps on America. He wants us to suffer economic disaster in the next 12 months or so. But yet MAGA supporters have no problem with that, or when he talks about our brave men and women in uniform being suckers or losers. You can't have it both ways. They're both wrong. And the people that are chanting "Death to America" are despicable. These are despicable, ignorant people, and there's no evidence that they're Democrats and they voted for Joe Biden. I'm pretty sure the guy that calls him Genocide Joe probably didn't vote for Joe Biden.
Well, let me chime in on this. Okay, so this is a fundamental misunderstanding by certain people of what people actually believe. And when I say people, I'm talking about whether it's Joe Biden, the Biden administration, those of us in America who don't happen to be Palestinian or don't happen to be Jewish or don't happen to be Israeli, and our viewpoints on this. It's a misunderstanding. That guy that went on that rant, okay, and yes, I would agree with what you're saying with respect to if you're making, serious threats like that, they should be taken seriously by the United States government, and you should be held accountable. But there is a misunderstanding by that guy, okay? Joe Biden and those of us who happen to not be Jewish or not be Palestinian, okay, our perspective on this is that, yes, we understand that there is a relationship between the United States government and the state of Israel, or has been since the state of Israel came into existence. We understand that, all right? But we also take the position of, right, that that Israelis, Jewish people around the world, should not have to face the type of horrific things that they've had to face from terrorist organizations like Hamas, like Hezbollah, and others, right, that have committed those atrocities. We also take the position, all right, that innocent Palestinians, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's inside Israel, right, in the West Bank, or other places where there are Palestinians there, innocent Palestinians should not also be killed as well, too. That's the position. We are not, and when I say we, I'm talking about, is it Gentiles is the word that they use for those of us who don't happen to be Jewish or Palestinian, right, or Arab? They call us Gentiles. The position we take is we want, there not to be terrorist attacks. We want innocent people not to be getting killed. So that is the baseline perception that we take, all right? And that person that went on that rant, right? And by the way, that's obviously in a predominantly Dearborn, Michigan is the largest Palestinian population in the United States of America. That's why a lot of those people there, that's why representative from Michigan, who's very controversial, who has said things that, have absolutely been deemed as anti-Semitic, right? Because she's Palestinian, so it's not really a huge shock. It's not saying I agree with it, but you can understand why, because she's Palestinian American. But the point being is that there is a fundamental misunderstanding of people of where their beliefs are and what the intentions are of the Biden administration, the United States government, and Americans that don't happen to be Jewish or Palestinian. And by the way, I'll cap this off by saying this. Anthony Blinken tried to clarify the Biden administration's position on this when he spoke a couple days ago, basically saying that Joe Biden had a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu and said, look, this is unacceptable, what's happening with respect to the innocent Palestinians in Israel, right, in the West Bank or in Gaza, and what is happening as far as innocent people being killed. That's as far as he essentially went. This is not supporting Hamas. This is not supporting Hezbollah. It's just clarifying the point that the Biden administration feels that it needs to be handled better from the Israeli standpoint with respect to the innocent Palestinians.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden's hearing it from both sides at times, and he's put in an extremely difficult position here. I agree with him. The conversation needs to start. I don't care who you're talking to.
Right.
The conversation needs to start this way. Hamas started this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a conversation with you if you think Israel should cease to exist. You see, it's very simple. If Israel drops their weapons and they say, okay, we're done, they will be blown to smithereens.
The state goes bye-bye.
Okay.
It goes
Israel
bye-bye.
is
It's
gone.
gone.
So we need to start the conversation there. Hamas has been a terrorist group since the mid-'80s. They're the ones who want chaos. They want worse than chaos. Not only do they want every innocent Jewish person, Israeli, to be killed, but they also want mayhem with the Palestinians. They don't care if a bunch of Palestinians die as well. They wanted this. That's number one. They started it, not Israel. Number two, yes, Israel has the right to defend themselves. Joe Biden is 150% correct. I don't always agree with the way Benjamin Netanyahu goes about it. The Israeli government is not perfect. They are our allies, and they want to live in peace. Hamas needs to be conquered. However, when you think of the situations that have taken place, particularly those 6 innocent individuals in Gaza that were just there to provide food and water and help people, and that can't happen. Those mistakes can't happen. Benjamin Netanyahu, I understand he apologized, but I can take your apologies and shove it. Those are 6 innocent people that lost their lives and the families are mourning. Those type of mistakes cannot happen. It can't be tolerated. And that's why Joe Biden was very upset, rightfully so, and people have a right to be upset at that. My understanding is the ratio of terrorist to innocent people dying is 2-1. I wish it was 2-0. But as we know in war, that's impossible. I know that Israeli soldiers are not putting babies in ovens. Israeli soldiers are not raping women. Israeli soldiers are not beheading people. There have been innocent people that have died, and it's a tragedy, and one person is too many. I understand that. Yes, Israel has a responsibility for the least amount of innocent casualties. I also understand that, and you could criticize Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government for that. Maybe they could be doing more, and they're not. And that's why Blinken and that's why Joe Biden have been on them for that. Yeah. There's only so much that Joe Biden can do or say. But the bottom line here is the world is a better place when Hamas is conquered. I wish innocent people were not dying. They are. And while this is going on, Jared Kushner is talking about the wonderful land and property in Gaza that could be sold. And by the way, him being Jewish, what an insulting thing to say during this time of war. But if you want to be taken seriously as a Palestinian, and again, these morons on the far right that are saying these are leftist extremists, there's no evidence of that. There's no proof of that. They don't know their political affiliation. So anybody who says that is an idiot. But to these extremists, and that's what I will call them, the Palestinians who are extremists, when you chant death to America, I think that's very fair to call somebody an extremist. Get out of our country. If you're one of those people that chants death to America, then get the hell out. That's not racist. Many of Palestinians would never chant something like that. I have no problem with people that are from Palestine. No problem. I have a problem with people that chant death to America. I have a problem with people that call Joe Biden Genocide Joe. Get the hell out of this country if you want death to America. Nobody forced you to come here. If you don't want to be here, then you can leave. Go to Gaza, for all I care. The Israelis have allowed millions of people like you to live in their country. If they wanted genocide, why would they allow that to happen? Millions of people that celebrate. Millions of people in Israel that celebrate the Islamic faith are allowed to live freely. Would that happen in Iran? Are there a bunch of Israelis that are treated fairly in Iran? The Iranian government is partially responsible for what is going on here. They have funded Hamas for years. We have to stop funding the Iranian government. That's number one. Hamas needs to be destroyed. That's number two. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government needs to, take more responsibility and the least amount of innocent civilian casualties. And these Palestinians who don't think Israel should exist, very difficult to have a conversation with them. If you're going to be chanting death to America, then I believe you should be arrested. That is a threat directly to this country. When you chant out death to America, get the hell out of this country if you're going to chant something like that. I don't care what political affiliation you are. When you chant out death to America, you shouldn't be here.
When they let me bounce this off you, Brian, as yourself a Jewish American. I had a chat with one of our buddies who will remain nameless. His initials are MN, okay? And he talked to me about this apparently red heifer theory that's going on with respect to building a third temple in Jerusalem. And essentially, he posed the question to me. It wasn't really a question. It was more like he made a statement and trying to portray it like it was factual, which it wasn't. But I'll bounce this off you, Brian. What do you think about this idea that because of trying to build a third temple, that Jewish people, that Israelis want all Palestinians to perish in Israel?
That's an absurd statement. Are you going to find a small group of extremists that might feel that way? Sure, you'll get that anywhere. Mm-hmm. The idea that Israelis want all Palestinians to die is a blatant lie. It's not true. That would be like me saying every one of the Islamic faith is a terrorist, which obviously is not true also, even though Lauren Boebert would probably disagree with me on that. You remember the statement she made about Ilhan Omar. There are going to be extremists on both sides. But again, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. Here's what I will tell you. Find me a time where Israeli soldiers, for no reason, invaded another country, barbarically murdered a bunch of innocent women and children, put babies in ovens, and did anything anywhere near close to what these terrorists of Hamas did.
Well, it's a false equivalency.
It is.
You're making a false
That's
equivalency.
The point. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Hamas is a terrorist organization. It was a terrorist attack.
That is the point
that took place.
And that is the point that I am trying to make.
Now, look, there have been instances where members of the Israeli military have done things that could be considered war crimes, right, with respect to Palestinians. All right, so we can make that distinction. But it's a false equivalency comparing a terrorist organization with the military of Israel, or with the IDF, right? With the IDF, right? Or with Israel as a state taking steps to protect themselves, or if they make decision that is based on protecting themselves,
So-
right, as opposed to
Right.
what terrorist groups do,
the
which is commit acts of terror.
Israel is
which
not-
can be condemned by the world community. at
Israel
large.
is not committing genocide.
Right.
Joe Biden is not supporting genocide, and people that feel that way are extremist lunatics. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Now's the time to do so. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-7283. All right, right off the bat, why don't we go to Julie to start the show? Always good to start with Julie. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Brian. You were saying that Biden is not responsible. Well, are you familiar with Aaron Bushner?
Am I familiar with who? I'm sorry.
Aaron Bushner, the military guy who fired himself who killed himself. He burned himself.
I don't know who that
saying
is. Yeah.
Free Palestine.
Okay,
The
yeah.
famous guy that burned himself.
What about it?
Is he
saying that he
Palestinian? Was he a Palestinian
He
citizen?
said, no, he said he was an American military, and he said that Biden sent a troop to Israel to kill innocent people.
Gotcha.
There
So
are
you want to put, hold on a second.
38,000.
So you want to put credibility to somebody that lights themselves on fire, and you care what that person has to say, and you think that person is mentally stable. And let's take the word of one person that commits them, that lights themselves on fire, that makes a claim about Joe Biden sending troops to Israel. First of all, that's not true. And second of all, I don't get my information from lunatics who set themselves on fire. Try me again, Julie. Give me another example.
Oh, that's really sad because that guy was military, and he said
I respect his
dying,
as a fellow veteran. I respect his service. Yeah.
Whether you served, let me tell you
Yeah.
something. Just
You can
because
still be
you
crazy,
served
though.
in the
Yeah.
military doesn't mean you can't be crazy. The man set himself on fire. Do you have evidence, Julie? Not because somebody who set themselves on fire says it. Do you have direct evidence that Joe Biden sent troops to Israel? Because there's no evidence that that took place.
Wow, you don't defeat terrorists by invading the country.
Do you
they
have
came
evidence?
from and
Excuse
killing
me.
thousands of
Excuse me.
innocent
Excuse me.
civilians?
Excuse me. When you make
Okay.
a Julie, I need you to
Destroying
listen
the
to my
life
question.
of-
Pot her down. Julie, I need you to listen to my question very carefully. Okay? If Chris decides to set himself on fire, and before he sets himself, because Chris served in the military, I respect his service, and before Chris lit himself on fire, if he said you had a penis, does that mean we all should give Chris credibility?
You should all listen and swallow it,
So,
hook, line, and sinker, right?
So Julie, I'm going to ask you a question, and please answer it directly, and then we can move on to something else. Julie, do you have direct evidence? And by what I mean by direct evidence is not some random person who sets himself on fire who claims it. Do you have direct evidence, proof that Joe Biden sent troops to Israel? Yes or no?
Biden listed the sanction on Iran. Biden is sending military aid.
Sending
weapons,
military
and
aid,
many-
sending
and
Julie,
many
Julie, the question wasn't about military aid. I need you to focus again, Julie. You didn't say military aid. We know that Joe Biden is sending military aid to Israel. There are allies, and they're trying to fight a war against terrorism and Hamas. Most people don't have a problem with that, Julie, but that wasn't what you said. You made a claim that is obviously incorrect, and I'm trying to prove my point that people like you make claims with no evidence, like Donald Trump won the 2020 election. I'm going to ask you one more time, and if you don't have evidence, say you don't have evidence. Don't give me another BS answer. Do you have direct evidence, because you're claiming that Joe Biden sent troops on the ground in Israel, which is obviously not true. But when you make a claim like that, you have to have evidence. I'm going to let you speak if you answer the damn question. What evidence do you have?
Evidence of the opposite. You don't
Okay,
have
all right. Hey, Julie, that's like saying the earth is flat, and then if I said to you, you don't have evidence the earth is flat, then you would say, you don't have evidence that the earth is round. Yes, I do. The evidence that Joe Biden didn't send troops is there is no evidence. It wasn't his policy. He's on the record saying he wasn't going to bring troops on the ground. What do you mean there's no evidence? Because no, he didn't do it. What is wrong with you?
We haven't given any support to Israel other than financial support, essentially. Yes, we give them political support because we supported the state of Israel since their existence, right? The United States of America has. But there is, again, a disconnect here, Julie, between what the actual country of the United States of America has done, and what our position is politically. All right. So when you hear extremists like the gentleman that was in Michigan say death to America, he doesn't understand that it's not Joe Biden making decisions for Benjamin Netanyahu, okay? Do we have an influence over Israel? I suspect we do, right? But Joe Biden's not making decisions when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict there directly. He doesn't have, Benjamin Netanyahu on his hand like a puppet and making decisions that way. That's not how it works. And by the way, you also just made a claim that you said that Biden pulled the tariffs off of Iran. Now, I don't know if that's factually accurate because I don't have that information in front of me. But if that were actually true, then it destroys your discussion because it would suggest that he's actually hurting Israel by lifting tariffs on Iran, because we all know where Iran stands on Israel. They don't want Israel to exist at all. So if by that logic, Joe Biden would be hurting Israel if that's actually the case. So you don't make any sense in what you're saying. And by the way, I'll finish off by saying this. You can't, Julie, let me give you a little advice, all right? When Brian asks you a question, don't answer it with, wow, and then start talking about something completely different, all right? Because that's not a legitimate answer. It's a ridiculous answer.
Stop this. Stop justifying Biden destroying the life of millions of innocent people, human beings. That's not gain.
Okay, so let's go with that,
That's
Julie.
a very sane rant right
very,
there.
very,
That's a very sane take.
Very
Yes,
logical,
very sane.
Julie.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with that for a moment. You say Joe Biden is ruining the lives of millions of people. Can you name me a direct policy that Joe Biden put in place that you think led to ruining the lives of millions of people? Please give me that direct policy. Go ahead, Julie.
Been funding Israel for over 10 years.
Okay, so so Donald Trump also has funded Israel. You don't know what you're talking about. Every president has funded Israel. You don't know what you're talking about. So you're saying that it's millions of people's lives have been affected negatively. Ruined because Joe Biden is helping to fund our allies and the Israeli government to fight against Hamas. Julie, do you realize how ridiculous you sound once again? I'm sorry, what, Julie?
Funding conflict, funding war. We shouldn't be funding any war in the world.
That's a very intelligent.
That's good. Another
Okay,
very
thank you,
rational,
Julie.
sensible take right
We shouldn't
there.
be funding any government when it comes to our allies, when it comes to war. Thank you for the call, Julie. We really appreciate that. Holy smokes. All right, we're going to take a quick...
You navigated it. Shap, I applaud you. You navigated it, my friend.
Yeah,
And
well,
I tried a little bit, but
that's Julie for you.
I tried telling you no.
Yeah.
6 people said no to us.
Yeah, well, I paid the price on that one. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We'll take some more phone calls on the other side, hopefully better ones, at 702-221-7283. This might not shock you. A couple things in regards to RFK Jr. First of all, his campaign manager in New York is saying that you should be knocking on doors telling people to vote for Donald Trump. That's raising some eyebrows, yeah, but I'm sure he doesn't want to help the Donald Trump campaign. And he's also sent out a fundraising email, Chris, referring to January 6th insurrectionists as activists. That's right. He's defending some of these January 6th insurrectionists, as I would call them, who are behind bars. So we'll get to that when we come back. We got plenty more to talk about. Chris Wynn in the house. I'm Brian Shapiro. We'll take a quick break. We'll take more of your calls on the other side. Again, that number 702-221-7283. Your calls next. Take a quick break. Be back in 90.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign Bot Fun account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, busy lineup of guests this week. We got the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, that's going to be joining us in studio. Dr. Peter McCullough, who some would say is a very controversial doctor, testified in front of Congress, very anti-vaccine. He's going to be joining us on Wednesday. Doc Wall's in studio tomorrow. Eva Chase in studio Thursday, and plenty of more guests lined up as well. We got Chris Wynn in studio today. Congratulations to the NCAA Women's National Champions in South Carolina. Dawn Staley Great basketball team and good game, and it was a fun NCAA tournament on the ladies' side for sure. But, we have to get to the controversial subject where sports and politics align, and it is the subject of transgenders. And I think anybody who listened to this show knows that I'm pro, do whatever you want with your body and be happy and be who you are, and it's not my business, and I don't care what bathroom you go in. I don't care how you live your life so long as you're not breaking the law. Just be happy and be who you are, and I respect that. So Dawn Staley was asked the other day if she feels like it's fair to have transgender women competing with other women, and Dawn Staley said she didn't really have a problem with it, for lack of a better term. I do, and it's not because I'm a hater of the transgender community, because, again, anybody who knows me knows I'm not like that. Right now, there are 33 trans women playing NCAA sports out of 20,000 athletes. In my opinion, that's 33 too many. You don't hear transgender men, getting changing sports when it comes to, female sports. But for whatever reason, transgender women are, being talked about, men, transitioning to women in women's sports. I do want to play you this audio because I do think it's important so you don't just hear it from me. I love Dawn Staley, by the way. Phenomenal coach, great person, on the right side of history when it comes to so many social issues, and I respect the hell out of her. She was a gold medalist, a WNBA champion, an incredible player, great coach. But I don't like the way she answered this question. This is Dawn Staley in the NCAA tournament a few days ago being asked about trans women in female sports.
If you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play. That's my opinion. You want me to go deeper?
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate
that's your question
in
you
college
want
basketball?
Me to ask. I mean, you want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes. So now...
So we don't need to really hear anymore. That's her answer. I believe she's wrong. So Clay Travis, who's a despicable human being, but I do believe he's right on this issue. He was going at Bakari Sellers because Bakari Sellers is one of those guys. And again, I have a lot of respect for Bakari Sellers, but he's one of those people that, again, doesn't seem to have a problem with trans women competing in women's sports. So Clay Travis says, Bakari, do you believe that men should be able to play women's sports and win women's championships? Yes or no? It's a simple question. Bakari kind of dodged the question, and he said there's only 33 trans women playing NCAA sports. He said you stoke fear, which he does, but not when it comes to this issue. He says you play on the fringes. That's my point. You, Sage, Jason, etc., are pariahs because you're decently anti-intellectual. And then he says he has a personal relationship with Dawn Staley, which has nothing to do with the question. In this specific situation, I believe Bakari is wrong. Just answer the question. If you have no problem with trans women competing with other women, then just say it. I don't care if it's 3 women or 300. And, Clay responded and he said, so what number are you okay with? 100? 1,000? Here's why I have a problem with it. It's a safety issue and it's not fair. And I'm going to give you Leah Thomas as a perfect example. As a man competing as a college Division I swimmer, she was ranked above 400th in the country. Then she said she wanted to be a woman. Fine, be a woman. Don't care. I don't think she had the surgery, but that's irrelevant. She identified as a woman, and then all of a sudden she's the number 1 female college swimmer in the country. That's not because she worked harder over the summer or the off season. It's because Leah Thomas was born a man, and men in general are stronger and faster and have advantages over women. So this is a losing argument for Democrats, in my personal opinion. Focus on the more important things, and I'll get your thoughts on it, but I just want to finish by saying, focus on the more important things, which are treating people as equals, stop bashing on the transgender community, let people be who they are, just be poignant in saying that, yes, if you're born a man, transition to a woman, you probably shouldn't be competing with other women at any level. That's fair because it's unsafe for women, for starters, number 1, And it's not fair. It's not an equal playing field. So, Bakari, I'm really disappointed in you. Just answer the question. We know that Clay Travis is a hateful individual. We know that Clay Travis will dog on minorities, will dog on transgenders and people who are gay. He's a despicable bigot. But it doesn't mean he's wrong on this specific issue.
Well, a couple things, Brian. First of all, I'm not going to give any more credibility to Bakari Sellers or Clay Travis on this issue. Let's talk about this between me and you, Brian Shapiro and Chris Wynn. We just have just as much credibility to speak on this issue as those two guys do, okay? So I'm not trying to, hate on those guys or anything, but let's have our discussion, okay? I'll characterize it a little different way than you just did right now, talking about how it's dangerous, right? I'll put it this way. This issue, and let me be abundantly clear, okay? It's not about male or female or about transgender people. It is about straight competition and common sense. It is a fact that men have a physical advantage over women when it comes to athletics, okay? Particularly organized athletics like team sports, right? And across the board in and in other sports that happen to be individual sports that Brian, you played tennis and you played golf, right? You can make the argument, I guess, maybe they're closer in those sports, but hey, who cares? The point being is that common sense, folks, it is a fact that they have an advantage. So it is not Chris Wynn's opinion or Brian Shapiro's opinion that those people who happen to be transgender, right, who transition from males to female, will have a distinct advantage over their female counterparts. That's not a debatable topic. That is a fact, okay? And how do I know this to be a fact? Well, you brought the swimmer, right, who was ranked whatever he was when he was a male, right? He was what, 300th in the country, or 200th or whatever he was, and then he transitions to being a female, or ends up competing against women in college sports and ends up being finishing, I believe, winning the Ivy League, right? Championship. So that's what will happen across the board. You can tie that into every sport if that was going to be the case, where people were going to actually transition from males to female and play in, say, the WNBA, play in, say, the Professional Soccer League, play, you say, on the LGPA, right? I mean, that's what would happen across the board. This is not my opinion. This is not Brian Shapiro's opinion or Bakari Sellers or Clay Travis. This happens to be reality. And people are denying that. And Don Staley, look, and by the way, it's also not, it shouldn't be, it kind of is, I guess, but it shouldn't be a political thing. It shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat thing, okay? You're just wrong if you think that women should be able, transgender women should be able to compete in women's sports. You're wrong, all right? That's not a discussion. That's not me not being sanctimonious or me being a know-it-all. You're just wrong, okay? And so when Dawn Staley says that, and she says, that's my opinion, and then it's kind of hilarious because she goes, you want me to go deeper? I go, if I was a reporter, I kind of would have been a smart ass, and I might have got my credential revoked because I'd have been like, well, I don't need you to go deeper because it doesn't, I completely disagree with your opinion because I think your opinion's wrong. That's what I would have said to her, so you don't really need to go deeper unless you're going to go deeper if you mean by going deeper, you're going to change your viewpoint on this.
So let me expand by saying this. This gives right-wingers and bigots an opportunity to attack people on the left and attack those that, in a good way, are aware of their surroundings. I know they like to use the term woke. This takes it a little bit too far. Now, there's a reason why you don't hear about transgender men affecting the men's sports, because they don't have an advantage. If you're born a woman, I don't care how much testosterone you take, you're not going to have an advantage over somebody who is born a man. It's why I have absolutely no problem. If you are born a woman and you transition to a man and you think you can compete at the college or high school level with other men, I say absolutely go for it. It's not going to hurt the sport, in my opinion. It's not going to be a threat to men's, safety on the court or on the football field. But that's why you don't hear about it, because it's not happening.
No, dude, I'm better than Brian. Brian, women have competed. You had the golfer, right, that competed on the PGA Tour, right? There wasn't people out with an outcry out there saying, "Oh my gosh, what is she doing trying to compete on the PGA Tour?"
Right?
Because we all understand. Most of us have common sense, right? We say, "Oh, you know what? her playing on the PGA Tour.
Well,
it's her
it
going
wasn't-
up against better.
Yeah, let me give a little background there.
Well, it's not
me-
bad. I'm just
yeah,
using it as an example.
I understand.
But it happened in the NBA, for example, right?
Yes.
A woman tried to say, for example, Caitlin Clark wanted to try to play in the NBA.
Not gonna happen.
Right? I understand it's not going to happen, but I'm trying to make a point here with respect to this debate, right, regarding transgenders in transgender in sports, right? Or women playing men's sports.
Mm-hmm.
There would not be some outcry, right? If Caitlin Clark tried to make the NBA, she wouldn't make it. She's not good. She wouldn't be able to play. But I'm saying, if she tried, though, there wouldn't be some outcry. Oh my gosh, this is horrible for sports, for competition. No, because what do we have, Brian Shapiro? We have common sense. We understand that yes, she has absolutely no advantage. In fact, she's at a disadvantage because she happens to be female, trying to go up against the best players in the world in the best men's
let me
league
just
in
give
the
a little
world.
bit of background
So-
where it has happened. There were 8 LPGA Tour players, I think at least 8, that have played in PGA events. None of them have made the cut. While they're all really good golfers, none of them have made the cut. When it comes to the MMA and any type of fighting, somebody born a man transitioned to a woman have annihilated women in the octagon.
No doubt.
It's unfair. It's ridiculous. And this is where people on the extreme left, in my opinion, are wrong on this issue. Now, I think most people, both Republicans and Democrats, agree that if you're born a man, transition to a woman, we want you to be treated as equals. We don't want you to be, treated poorly. We don't want you to be discriminated against. This isn't discrimination. This is about safety on the playing field. This is
And
about
competition.
fairness.
Competition.
And competition.
Yep.
Number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call, 702-221-7283. And for those of you that are saying this is an ignorant conversation, no, it's not. There are people in this country that believe that if you're born a man, transition to a woman, you should be able to compete with other women. Okay, it's happening. There are 33 Division I trans athletes that are competing against women. That's wrong. It shouldn't happen. It's not an ignorant conversation. And if it continues to be allowed, there's going to be more and more, and it's not fair. All right, let's go to the phone lines at 702-221-7283. Carolyn is first up. What's up, Carolyn?
Well, I was thinking that maybe we should have a competition only for trans.
That's been proposed. Yep, that has been proposed. But
Yeah,
but think about it though.
because
No, so that to your point though,
forcing-
do you think it's something
You're
that could actually?
forcing them to compete. You're forcing them to compete. And I'm going to tell you, I studied genes, okay, in college, and we had a thing to find out about why, when they had the Olympics, some women were tested to see if they had ovaries. Okay, because they were considered also male.
Right.
Did you know that?
Yes,
the
I did.
one that could not have babies.
Yes,
they
I
were
did.
checking
Yep.
the cousin. They were checking their aunts and everything, all the genetic. So I think the best thing is to have one exactly just for trans.
Well, let me respond to that and let
That
Brian.
way
I'd
they
like to hear
are
Brian
safe.
take on this too. So I'll respond to you on
They
that.
are
I agree
safe.
with you. I agree with you. There should be if there's some way, shape, or form they could have a division, right, of transgender people. But it goes back to the fact that we pointed out many times. There's not that many of them.
Okay.
There just isn't. There's not that many of them. So you're not going to have a. Well, let me finish my point real quick. So there's not enough of them, okay, to do that in the individual sports. And by the way, I mean, is there a market for it? Do people really care enough about that to want to watch that? That's another question too. So I mean, it's an admirable proposition that you make, and I think Brian and I both. I'm not going to speak for Brian, but I think we both understand that take and that view. But it's just not something I think that's really applicable because there just isn't enough transgender people in the world, quite frankly, to do that.
But they're just scared to be in there because look at all this accusation and everything. Do you really want a trans to be in that position unless they have their own Olympics?
What do you mean scared, though?
We're doing
What do you mean
it for
scared,
the
though?
handicaps. We're doing it for the handicaps. Why not for the trans?
We're doing
Why
it for the
not
what?
giving
For the
them
who?
the chance to be better. Okay? And then I got another one. When you're swimming, is it the short person that win? Or is it the tallest one?
Yeah, it's a weird question. I mean, it's
I
swimmers are
wouldn't-
swimmers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, well, look, you're posing weird questions a little bit weird. Okay, so it doesn't matter your height, right? It's your skill when it comes to swimming. I mean, I would expect, I'm not a swimmer, but I'd expect taller people probably have an
Leah
advantage
Thomas
a little bit,
is a large person, large muscles, and certainly the larger and the better physical conditioning you're in, especially with the muscles that you have. I don't know a lot about swimming, but I do know the stronger you are. If you're in good physical condition, that's certainly going to help you. It's going to probably make you a better swimmer. Thank you for the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I see some people on social media that are saying, I see Brian for what he is. Yeah, I'm glad you do. You see somebody that is logical.
What is that, chap?
You
What is
see
that?
somebody that is logical that wants to be fair. I'm sorry if you don't like the fact that I don't want to see somebody born a man transition to a woman competing against women on the playing field or the basketball court or the soccer field. I want people to be treated fairly, and that goes for transgenders, and that also goes for women that are born women that are competing against other women that are born women. I want it to be fair, and it's also dangerous. So if you see Brian for what he is, I'm glad you see me for who I am, a fair, like-minded, fair individual who I think on this topic is 150% correct. 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Damon, who's next up. What's up, Damon?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? I got to be Patrick for 2 seconds, man, and change the subject. I'm in the last man standing. There's 20 of us left for this $60,000. Who you got tonight with that 6.5?
UConn.
For sure.
Yeah. I think UConn wins by double digits tonight. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
No respect for the Boilermakers.
No, I didn't say that.
No respect at all, David.
I didn't say that.
Wow.
I have respect.
By the
for
way, I'm on the other side. I'm absolutely taking the Boilermakers plus the points.
Okay,
and
so
they
that
might win
gives you.
outright.
So Damon,
and Damon, I might be putting some money on them.
I got to fade
money line. Yeah.
If Chris,
I'm so glad you're there, Chris. Thank you. I'm going UConn. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. If Chris says take Purdue, you definitely want to go the other side.
I said money line too. I'm even going further, Dan. I'm going money line. Baby.
Purdue will have no answers for UConn's offense. They run too much good stuff.
They'll be able to deal perfectly with Zach Edey and
Brendan
Smith.
Good luck.
Smith, he's not any good either.
Good luck, Damon. We wish you luck, my friend. Yeah.
Y'all need to quit disrespecting that girl from Iowa. What's her name? Caitlin?
I'm not disrespecting her.
Caitlin Clark.
No, I'm saying she could. No, Chris was like, she could be definitely a backup, weak defense point guard in the NBA.
Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. No way. No way.
No, Brian.
You're killing it. You're killing it, David. Come on.
Let me. Okay, so let me. And again, Caitlin. Or did I say Caitlin?
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark. Yeah. All due respect, she is a wonderful player and seems like a really
on the
good
women's side. Yeah.
She is a wonderful player. Seems like
on the women's side. I'll keep
okay,
let
me
just watch the paper.
Hold on, Damon. I'm going to see.
Brian, I'm doing it for effect. You should be able to go through.
Damon, I'm going to see if I can get a sentence out without Chris interrupting me. I'm going to try to finish my sentence. She's a wonderful player who has done a great job in growing the game. She's the GOAT in women's basketball.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear. She couldn't play on a men's Division I college team. You have to use a men's basketball. It's not going to be easy for her to make those type of shots as compared to a women's basketball. Okay,
it's not about that.
She's not going to be.
It's not about the ball.
Okay, well, guess what? If she can do it, then they would draft her. Let's see if they draft her. Let's see how that works out for you, Damon.
David, you saw that? He must have saw that story, right, about the Portland Trailblazers taking a look at her, right?
Yeah,
the
that's
Blazers
absurd.
maybe looking at her. You saw that, didn't you?
I did see that.
If in fact anybody that's a basketball scout or anybody that's around the game believed what you believed, not only would they sign her, they would sign her tomorrow. You know why? Because it would be a moneymaker for the franchise. It would be a milestone. Damon, it's not going to happen.
Let's see if it happens. They invited that lady a long time ago for Indiana for a tryout. I forget her name, the blonde lady.
How did that work out?
Damon, I'm a Detroit Pistons fan, my friend, and the Pistons wouldn't even draft her, I bet. I'm a Pistons fan.
It's not going to happen.
We are god-awful, bro.
Fan too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Pistons fan, too. That's your problem with them. You a fan, too, Chris.
Listen, I love women's tennis. There's professional women's sports that I'm a big fan of. I even saw the LPGA in Vegas over the weekend. The women, all due respect, when I'm talking about basketball, play below the rim. The men play above the rim. They're faster. They're stronger. It's unfair to make that comparison because there is no comparison. I appreciate the call, Damon, and good luck tonight. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. 702-221-SAVE if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Julian, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Julian.
Hey, Julian.
Hey, how are y'all doing today?
Good.
So I agree with some of what you're saying about transgender athletes. I disagree with some of it. Just real quick as a starting point, for frame of reference, I'm a national caliber powerlifter, and so which is a sport having to do with objective strength.
Yeah.
And obviously, I see a bunch of women who participate in this sport as well. And there is, without question, 100% a massive difference between just the natural abilities between men and women. And obviously, can there be a woman who's stronger than a man? Yeah, but if you take like for like, like relatively similar ranking. So I just want to get that out there to be clear. And so I think my thing is, and I don't know at what level or where this line should be, but there's a certain level of where I think where you need to potentially put humanity in front of the fairness of competition, where you just say, hey, yeah, guess what? Having somebody who's in like that level might be high school sports. I don't know.
It is high school sports. No, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. It is. You're asking for a definitive line. I'll give you that definitive line. I think it's high school. High school competitive sports. I think that's where it starts. Okay. Yes, I understand. So your comment regarding humanity, you're talking about what we should be. If a child, say for example, a child's 12 years old, right, and they feel that they want to transition, right, and when you use the word humanity, you're talking about as parents, we should have our kids when they're 12 years old be able to compete as who they feel they are.
Yeah.
And so I think the line should be high school. It should be when you're a freshman in high school. That's when the competition starts at the high school level. That's where we should draw the line.
So when I was in high school, not having to do with trans people at all, but there was a boy who wanted to play volleyball. We did not have a men's volleyball team. Our school just didn't have one. Okay. So he was allowed to play on the women's team. Now, mind you, there was a restriction because the net is lower and that he had to play on the back line. But and it could be also the line could be through high school. And when I say humanity, to speak in very, very specific
Okay,
terms,
but help me out, Julian. Help me out, Julian.
Yeah.
What is it that I said that you would directly...
both of us. What do you fundamentally disagree with?
What is it that I said that you directly disagree with?
So, again, it's I guess it's the more... I don't know if disagree was the right term for me to use. Okay. It's more so speaking with the broad terms. So, yes, I understand that you're primarily talking about college, but I think that often this is a discussion about
No, I'm talking high school, too. I believe junior high school and high school as well. I will go ahead.
Then I disagree with that entirely because
post puberty.
I don't care about high school sports.
Okay, well, but hold on, Julian, hang on a second here. I understand you don't care about high school sports,
where to draw the line.
But I'm not asking you your interest in high school sports. That's fine. If you don't like high school sports, that's fine. What I am telling you is, and this is a fact, post puberty, a boy in post-puberty has tremendous advantage over women or girls. It starts at 10 years old. That's why 10-year-old boy golfers are better than girls. It's why a 12-year-old boys basketball player as a whole is going to be more athletic and more faster and stronger than a 12-year-old girl. You're saying you have no problem with 18-year-old transgender women competing on a varsity girls basketball team? You're okay with that? I'm shocked.
Yeah, I think, am I saying that it is fair? No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that we have a very, very small number of transgender athletes who are trying to compete at that level. Very minimal. Like when Utah tried to pass their law, there were 2 in the entire state.
Okay, but Julian,
it's not about the number; it's the principle.
It's not about principle. Okay, it could be one person, or it could be
not about the amount.
It could be one person, or it could be 1,000. It's not going to change my opinion. It's not right.
So my stance to try to just boil it down very quickly is I would rather sacrifice at least a certain level the fairness of competition for being able to tell trans kids that, hey, you can be part of this community.
All right, let's ask you a question.
A lot of trans kids are killing themselves because they're just excluded and bullied.
And that's horrible, but being excluded and bullied to me has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'm with you, but they're not killing themselves because they couldn't play on the girls' wrestling team or boys' wrestling team. Let me ask you a question. If you have a daughter and she's a state girls champion in wrestling, you're telling me you'd be okay with her as a 16 or 17-year-old in a state championship with college scouts watching, competing against a 17-year-old guy who defines himself as a woman. You'd be okay with that?
I think it does get complicated and messy, and there is no good way around it. There would be a massive advantage for that person, but also, again, with any sport like this, because we're talking about children who are still in the middle of puberty, like anybody who is competing is probably on some level of hormone therapy, which helps then reduce it.
Okay, but you're still born a man.
So now you're making the case for us, though. You're kind of making the case for us when we're talking about when you talked about, you used the term boiling down, right? I'll boil it down for you. It's about the competition. It matters about the competition. Okay, you used the specific example, right, of a kid that played on was a freshman, right, and played on the volleyball team in high school. You used that very specific situation, right? And there's probably a handful of those around the country, right? Obviously, I don't know when you went to high school, okay? I don't know what time period you went to high school, but you understand that the reason that happened probably, right? And the reason why there was a handful of cases that happened around the country is because we didn't really have a grasp on the situation, right? People were just kind of going fly by the seat of your pants, making decisions, regarding this in the moment, and it wasn't any thought about whether they're transgender or not. It was just kind of like, okay, how do we make this work, right? That's kind of how now everybody obviously is hyper focused on it because it's become a big topic. But the point being is that you used a very specific example, and we're just trying to talk about it from an overall perspective, how we should approach this moving forward.
702-221-7283. Thank you for the call, Julian. Let's go to Lori. Lori is next. What's up, Lori?
Hi. Julian's wrong because high school is what leads 90% of athletes to college.
Right.
They get scholarships on what they do in high school.
Correct. That's one reason. Yes, I agree. And
it's definitely an aspect,
with you.
right? Yeah.
90% of I've had so many friends. Oh, you're so pro LGBTQ. So why don't you want transgender playing?
Yeah.
Well, I was denied it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was denied a job because I had to be at my height and my age as strong as any man, as strong as a man at my same height.
Right.
And I fought that, and I ended up with the job, and I worked there for 25 years with no injuries. So, and that was their big thing, is that it was a physical job and I'd get hurt.
But Lori, let me be clear.
Anyway.
Let me be clear, though, because what you're saying, I hear what you're saying, and it's not right. I agree, as you know, anybody who listens to this show, I'm pro-LGBTQ community, I'm pro-transgender, I want people to be happy and live their lives. This isn't about discrimination. This isn't about
right. I know that.
This isn't drag. I know you understand, but some people don't. I'm not talking about drag queen reading or anything like that. I'm talking about the safety and the fairness in competition. Very, very different. And listen, I agree with Democrats on a lot of social issues. I completely now most Democrats agree with me on this. Most Democrats.
Yeah,
like
we do.
Chris,
I'm a Democrat.
Right.
So time out. So I'll clarify. So Brian, look, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But you can also I'll make it more. I'll clarify it more for you. You can be pro-LGBTQ and still feel that if you're born a man, you shouldn't be playing women's sports.
Absolutely.
That's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
We don't have to get more complicated than that.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say most Democrats agree with us on this issue, but for the people that are on the far left, that are, or even somebody
just the people that believe that.
Don
Staley. Like Don Staley. Yeah, they don't have to be far left.
It's giving Republicans a way to go after Democrats, and it's doing not only a disservice, in my opinion, to all women athletes, but also a disservice to Democrats. And Lori, I appreciate your call, and thank you for sharing your story with us. We appreciate you.
Like Brian, because you're like declaring like Dawn Staley because she's a far leftist or something. It doesn't have to be about far left or being on the left or Democrat or Republican, because there might be Republicans out there that have no problem with it. There might be some people that are on the right.
Gotta stop.
So it's not necessarily, it's just all these hardcore lefties that are, I should put it this way, a handful of hardcore lefties that are like, they should be able to do whatever they want. If you're born a man and you're now a transgender woman, you should be able to play sports. No, your opinion is just wrong, regardless of your left or right.
702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. That's 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Sherry. Hi, Sherry.
Hi. First, I want to tell you thank you so much for talking about this.
Sure,
absolutely.
I'm what you call kind of like a retired athlete, not professional or anything.
Gotcha.
I'm
So you're like Brian and I.
52. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah. And I am, okay, so I'm really competitive. And I know you guys are too. If you're an athlete, you're competitive.
Yep.
And I have thought about this so many times. I'm 6'2". And I played roller derby. And I played with some guys, and they pummeled me. But I knew going into it that was going to happen. And that's kind of part of the competition. And it actually kind of pushed me a little bit harder. I understand like the muscle mass and everything, but I feel like until transgender people have their own leagues, this kind of talk, and I'm not saying you're bad or anything, but I think this kind of talk contributes to the hate of the transgender population.
Okay, so hold on. Let me respond to what you just said. I respectfully disagree with you. Well, so what I talk about on the air all the time are those that are against gay marriage, that think being transgender, the sky is falling, that think gay marriage is a sin, think being gay is a sin, that think drag queen reading is the worst thing that ever can happen. I don't believe stating the obvious, which is if you're born a man, transition to a woman, you have a tremendous advantage over other women on the playing field. I don't believe that is hate speech, and I don't believe this kind of talk would contribute to that. I disagree with you. Now, if I went on and I said transgenders are bad people or they're pedophiles or like what the right does, going into bathrooms, you're going to rape children, being a transgender, you're mentally ill, which is, by the way, something I've never said and I don't believe in. Or and I've also shown a tremendous, and I continue to show a tremendous amount of compassion for these people because I can't imagine how difficult it must be being in a body you don't want to be in. And what I mean by that is not Chris Wynn with his shirt off in front of the mirror in the morning. What I mean, or me, the baldy that I am, what I mean by that is you really want to be in another body and you want to be another, you want to be a woman or a man. I can't imagine how difficult that must be. What I do is I try to have conversations with transgenders. I try to understand them. They live a very difficult life. Many of the people that I talk to say they're very happy that they had the surgery and they're a happier person. So I just respectfully disagree with you. I think it's unfair. It's dangerous for women. And I just think anybody who thinks a transgender woman, man transition to a woman, should be allowed to compete against other women in competition. I just think that's wrong, and I don't think that contributes to hate. I think it contributes to logic.
And I'll rephrase it in a different way too, answering your question or answering what your response was. I think it's actually respectful to the transgender community that we are actually highlighting this and talking about this because Brian and I have talked about this many times on this show and off the air, by the way, with a couple of our colleagues and friends. All right. I think this is with respect to the whole transgender issue that's come about really in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, where it's become a discussion, particularly on the right. It's been all about being judgmental, right, and being bigoted towards that community. Right. And it's a community, quite frankly, that you talk about how we shouldn't talk about it or whatever, right? The caller, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but like it's a small community. It's less than 1% of the population. You know what I mean? And there's people on the right and people that are bigoted and judgmental. I want to act like they're affecting all facets of society in a negative way, right? And that's a terrible thing if you're a transgender person, that they're grooming children, and that those of us, particularly those of us that are Democrats or on the left, that are enabling transgender people to infect our kids in that way. And it's a false, completely BS narrative, and we are combating that by talking about this. So I think we're actually doing a service to people bringing up this issue.
Go ahead. We'll give you the last word there. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is why I said I do appreciate this. I am actually the parent of a transgender adult.
Okay.
And so I've always felt like I couldn't really talk about this because my child is not athletic at all. And I felt like talking about it was contributing to the hate. So I do really appreciate you talking about this and being real about it, because I do feel that way. But I also feel like being an athlete, and I think you understand this, it gives you it's just really good for your mental health.
Agree. Absolutely.
So until there are other leagues and I think this is hard too because it is such a small population, But until there are actual transgender leagues, how can you rightfully take that away from someone just because
here's what I will say to that.
They really truly believe who they are.
Here's what I'll say to that. I don't know what Leah Thomas' intentions are. I question her intentions, but I will say this. Practice with other women or men, whether it be recess, whether it be in gym class, whether it be in a practice type scenario, I have no problem with that at all, so long as there's no dangers physically for anybody.
Right.
But if we're talking about strictly, and this is what I am talking about, competition, high school competition,
fairness,
where the games matter, college competition, where there are scholarships involved, where the events matter, it's not right and it's not fair. If we're talking about mental health, guess what? Recess, after school, practices, find out if a coach will allow you to practice with a team. I have absolutely no problem with that at all. But when it comes to actual real competition, when the games actually matter, wins and losses and records and that sort of thing, no, I don't think that's fair. And I don't think we should do that so that somebody can feel welcomed or, whatever that case may be. I just think there's fair and then there's not fair. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and Brian, to the caller, right? You phrased it in a way where you said, "Well, they're taking it away from the transgender person that wants to be an athlete," right? That's not that's juxtaposed against the viewpoint that a lot of us have, where we think it's more important regarding competition, fairness on the side of young girls, right? Young women or women in this country as opposed to transgender individuals. That's not me trying to be bigoted or anything. That's me just explaining what that contrast is, right? That battle that's kind of going on when you talk about this issue.
I appreciate the phone call, and I appreciate you calling in. And you're right; these are very important conversations to have. Going to take a quick break. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill. Chris Wynn is actually, I think, hanging out there tonight, believe it or not. Great food, great atmosphere, great servers, great bartenders. I had chicken Alfredo last week. The week before I had salad, chicken salad, which was awesome. Just a fun place to go to and relax and have a good time and have an escape and do some gaming, play a little bit of video poker, which I do from time to time. I know Chris is the big Caveman Keno fan. Check him out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. All right, one last break, and when we come back, it is a special day today. Yes, we talk about how politics and sports collide, but just from a pure sports standpoint, got to talk about the national championship game tonight. It's UConn. I say UConn Huskies. I'm from Connecticut. It's the UConn Huskies and the Purdue Boilermakers. I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And listen, sports is a great escape from especially the political world and the nonsense and the craziness of the next 6 months. So we'll talk a little sports when we come back. And we will I also want to talk about Barack Obama's bracket. There were a lot of mistakes in his bracket. We'll talk a little bit about that. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this for our final segment. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign Bot Fun account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840. That would be the Yukon Huskies song. Yes, that's right. I grew up with it because my Yukon Huskies are in the national championship game tonight. Coach Hurley has done such a great job, and they're playing the Purdue Boilermakers. Before I get to that, I'm getting a lot of compliments behind me of my Let's Go Jack Smith t-shirt in the back there. A listener actually gave me that shirt as a gift, so there you go. Let's Go Jack Smith. Before we talk about the game tonight, I want to tell you guys and remind you, subscribe to my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. Also, subscribe to the newsletter and go on my website, which is ptlradio.com, where I also can make personal public appearances. That's right. Contact us at ptlradio.com for that. And Occupy Democrats and so many other platforms that we're on. We appreciate you being a part of this show. Yes, big game tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Wynn's going to be over at Jackson's Bar and Grill. He'll be signing 8x10 photos over there. Come down and say hello.
Not shirtless.
Yes, he'll be arguing with his roommate.
Shirt on.
You can get into a good political
Millie
debate
and I will
with
be
Chris.
getting fired up at each other. He'll probably want to talk about, Gavin Newsom and minimum wage or something something,
Yeah, Chris's roommate is a right-wing lunatic, by the way. But anyway, Chris will be at Jackson's Bar and Grill, where they have the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games, located at Flamingo and Jones. So check that out. Very interesting matchup today because, of course, Purdue has the best, at least the most valuable player in the country, of course, their center, who stands at, I believe, 7'3"? Is he 7'3"? Is that
7'3". Player of the year, by the way, in NCAA. Yes.
Yes, and then you have a guy guarding him who's not too shabby, 7'1". In the end, I believe that UConn's offense is just going to be too much for Purdue to handle. I mean, they run a lot of great stuff, and they score from every position, and they're so athletic, and you can make the argument they're probably better than they were even last year. The only way Purdue keeps this game close, I'm not even going to say win.
Wow.
In my opinion.
The disrespect, Numbchuck,
well, it's not,
from Brian Shapiro.
No, you take it as disrespect, and it's not.
Well, I'll point out why in a second.
It's not disrespect.
But I'll let you finish.
I'm not saying they're going to get blown out. It wouldn't surprise me if they won by double digits. But the reason why I say the only way Purdue can hang in this game is if their guards are shooting, they're playing a perfect game, and they're shooting lights out. I would imagine UConn's probably going to double in the paint eventually. And it's going to come down to Purdue, and they're going to have to make shots. And when you look at the UConn game against Alabama, Alabama didn't score for like 5 or 6 minutes straight, and that destroyed them in the second half. The thing I love about this UConn team is, whenever they face a little bit of adversity, as our good friend Jim Gemma would say, whenever they face adversity, they always find a way. Yeah. And they're so battle-tested and so well-coached. I mean, Hurley is such a great coach. And not Bobby, by the way, his brother, Danny. So, yes, the line being 6.5 is where it is right now, 7.5, depending on where you go. If you got down on them at 5.5, you're in a much better position. To be safe, I would tease it. So my teaser parlay that I'm going to give out on the air today for free, believe it or not, tease UConn down to a 0.5 point.
There you go.
With the over. I do think that the over comes in because both teams can score, even though UConn's really good defensively. So I would tease the over with UConn a 0.5 point. If you just are into straight bets, take UConn money line. If you don't like that, then take UConn and gamble a little bit. Minus 6.5. That's what I like tonight.
Oh, let me do the devil's advocate action here for the Purdue Boilermakers as a Big Ten guy that I am. So by the way, you just said you sent out a teaser there down to 1 when you just said the team probably could win by double digits.
Absolutely.
It might not be a blowout, but double digits is kind of a blowout, especially in a national championship game.
No.
But that being said,
I disagree.
definitely the Purdue Boilermakers had a more difficult slate to face in the NCAA tournament this year than UConn did. I'm not taking away from UConn as far as their talent standpoint. No question, they're the defending national champions, so that would be absurd. But that being said, UConn did not face what Purdue had to face to get to this national championship game. We've obviously talked about Zach Edey a little bit, the player of the year, guy that's going to be extremely difficult to deal with for anybody on that UConn roster. And then, of course, look, Braden Smith is one of the best guards in the country at the point guard position, as well as Fletcher Lawyers had a solid tournament as well, too. So there are some guys there with the team from West Lafayette that are absolutely formidable. So I'm going to be looking at the other side of this. I'm probably going to be leaning towards Purdue plus the 6.5, and I might sprinkle a little bit on the money line. Now, look, Purdue, from a history standpoint, obviously this is record-breaking for them. They haven't been to a Final Four. They haven't been to a Final Four since, I believe, 1980, right? And this is the first time they've been to a championship game since 1968. So, obviously making milestones for this program. But I think that Purdue does keep it closer, and I think that while I'm going to sprinkle some money on the money line, I do think UConn wins the basketball game, but I think it's going to be inside of 5 points at the end of the day.
So you think UConn wins, but you're still betting the other way. That makes sense.
Well, I said I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on the Boilermakers money line. Going to take a chance, Shapiro. That's what I like to do.
Well, I got to be honest with you. When I hear that Chris is betting the opposite, it makes me even more confident with the way I'm going, that's for sure.
And the best thing is, right, is that tomorrow you can talk about it on the show, maybe a little bit, and I will be because I'll be filling in for T.C. Martin on the show after you tomorrow. So
wonderful.
We'll be talking about this game.
Great. All right. Well, anyway, I will say that I do believe UConn wins. If you asked me, I would say that UConn. And by the way, I don't think winning by 10 or 11 is a blowout. So I don't know what you're talking about there. Yeah.
Well, you used two numbers. You used 10 and 11. You said double digits, and
double
double digits is a blowout. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they win by 15 or more, that's both double digits and a blowout, right?
I didn't say they would win by 15 or more.
You said 10, 11. You're very specific. You were very specific. You said you used two numbers.
I said
10, 11.
I said it wouldn't surprise me.
It's not a blowout, no, if they win by 11.
I said it wouldn't surprise me if they won by double digits. I didn't.
Well, double digits covers a lot of area, my friend.
It does, and I'm not saying they're going to be blown out. Purdue's going to be blown out, but it wouldn't surprise me if UConn won by double digits. And we see in a lot of these games where a team could be within 4 or 5 points and then a couple threes at the end of the game and free throws, and all of a sudden they win by double digits. So, no, that's not a blowout. But it wouldn't surprise me if Purdue got out to an early lead. But I think UConn...
Would it not surprise you if they actually won the game?
Yes, it would surprise me.
It would surprise you?
If Purdue won, it would surprise me. If Purdue wins this game outright, yes, it would absolutely surprise me.
Brian Shapiro's Connecticut bias coming into play here, I think,
not
a
at
little
all.
bit.
Bias has absolutely nothing to do with it. I'm biased. If I thought that...
is the Nutmeg State, right?
Yeah.
Connecticut?
UConn, man.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. How good is UConn, both the men and the women's basketball programs, for decades and decades and decades? I mean, they are so good.
Well, especially the women.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's crazy. All right, Chris, thanks so much for being here. We'll see if your pick... and I'll be the first one to admit I'm wrong on the radio tomorrow if you're right. And Purdue wins. I'll be the first one to admit it.
And I will, too.
Yes. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair. Chris will be at Jackson signing autographs tonight, so come by and say hello. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks to Chris for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark